Hello all and welcome to the next video here in the Onion Man's Rooftop Two-Headed Cow Caravan of Treasure. Sometimes barter. The streak continues because of course. And this is the next episode of a game show. What kind of show? A game show. Why? Couldn't think of a more clever name. Yeah. This is a video full of just a mixed match of stuff. I mentioned before I was saving this one for last. I mentioned I go to Lubbock, Texas a lot. It's kind of the closest bigger city to me. I know it's not as big as a lot of the other places in Texas, but there's a lot going on there. They have massive swap meets and garage sales like every weekend. I don't go every weekend, but I at least like once a month I try to make it down there. And every time I find a bunch of stuff. And this one was no different, including for sure a Holy Grail item I have been looking for since I was in college. So yeah. And it's a game I own multiple copies of now because of that search. And I'll explain why. But yeah, I got stuff from different garage sales here. I got a couple of different things from one guy, and then about 5 games from another guy, and then the last guy had nothing but retro games, which is where I found that Holy Grail. So I'll try to go through them. First one, I found 2 PlayStation 2 games with this guy that I went ahead and picked up. First one, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I don't know what case he used to replace this because that's a sticker, so probably a sports game of some sort with the logo. But I love Metal Gear 3. It's my favorite Metal Gear Solid game. Again, I think in one of the previous game show episodes I talked about how I got Metal Gear Solid 2 again, so now I have 3 again. So worked out. I still need to get me a PS1 copy of Metal Gear Solid and then try to find somewhere an original NES cart for Metal Gear that's not overpriced. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. I know that's not the song, but I like singing it like it's Goldfinger. Yeah, I love Metal Gear Solid 3. It's my favorite Metal Gear game. And then the other one he had that I picked up was Twisted Metal Black. I've never played Twisted Metal Black, or at least not that I know of. I might have played it at a friend's house and just forgot. I've only ever played Twisted Metal 1 and 2 on the PS1, as far as I know. I owned Twisted Metal 2. Don't have it anymore. Need to find it again. But I had Twisted Metal 2. I know that. Because I always play as Axel. But yeah, looks pretty good. You know, I just noticed that. When I checked these when I bought them, I didn't notice that. It's a black label with a red label game. A greatest hits game. Interesting. I know the disc is in good shape. I checked that. I'm surprised I didn't catch that. Now I'm going to feel weird about that. That's like my collecting OCD kicking in. Like, why is this greatest hits game in a black label case? So after that, that was the first one we hit up. Went to the second guy. The second guy is the one that had all the retro games. I'm going to save that for last, so I'm going to skip ahead to the last guy I saw, or that I went to. I picked up, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. And it's a mixture. There's 2 PlayStation 2 games, and the rest are original Xbox. Many of these, a couple of them I have played, the other ones I have not. So we'll just start at the top with the PS2 games. I picked up Ratchet & Clank, Going Commando. Never played Ratchet & Clank. I've talked about finding the other games in some previous episodes and how I've never played them. So yeah, I think this is the last one I needed. Because I think I had Ratchet & Clank, and then I think it's Up Your Arsenal. So this was the last one I needed to complete like the original trilogy. So yeah, Going Commando. So there you go. Cool, got it. Completes that. The next one, I love this game. Maybe not love, but I really like this game. This is a game that, if you were a big fan of Grand Theft Auto back in the 2000s, specifically 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, like that PS2 era of Grand Theft Auto, then I highly recommend you check out The Getaway. Play style is a lot different. It looks like what you would think Grand Theft Auto in London should look like. I know there's a Grand Theft Auto London game, but I'm talking about from like the third person perspective and like the more updated whatever. It's one of those games that like you would think like it's kind of a Grand Theft Auto clone, and in some ways it is, but it plays so differently. And it's a much more serious story than those games were at the time. There's a lot of goofy and craziness in the Grand Theft Auto games. This is just a straight, super serious story. But it's a fun game. Yeah. Check it out if you never have, The Getaway. I've never played the sequel. It's like Black Monday or something. Never played it. I don't know if I ever will. I've heard mixed things about the sequel, but check out the first one, the original Getaway. Fantastic game. These are some games that I went ahead and picked up because I got kind of worried about the first version of this game. If you remember me talking about it, I picked up a copy of True Crime, Streets of LA or whatever, and the game was in such bad condition that it had like deep scratches on the front cover of it of the disc. And I tried to load it up. It did not play. And I have a PS2 with a new laser that can read almost anything, and it could not read that game. So I kept telling myself, I guess I just got to buy another one. Well, I eventually found both. I got LA and New York. I believe that's the order. Which is funny because in one of the last videos, I talked about how I picked up Sleeping Dogs, and that's kind of the successor to these. So there you go. I've played New York. I've never played Streets of LA. I tried to, but like I said, that disc was so messed up it would not read. So, hey, picked them both up on the Xbox instead. Called it good. I'll just play them. Get them out of the way. Whoa. Oh, yeah. Did this come with the original game? I want to know. If it did, that's amazing. Much better shape than that PS2 one I got. Cool. Okay, next three are Xbox games from that last seller. So we'll just start at the top here. I picked up Sid Meier's Pirates. Again, a game I played on the PC, but didn't know it was on console, to be honest. So picked it up. I'll play it again. I like Sid Meier games. I love Civilization. I'm a big Civ fan, so there you go. I'll definitely play this. Again, great games here. Games I had to rebuy because I got rid of them. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. He did not have the second one, so I still need to find Dark Alliance 2. But he had the first one here, so I love looking at old labels. What is it? Used $9.99. GameStop. And this is back when GameStop would take it out and like real rat bastards put it on the cover art spine. But I like the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance games. They were basically Dungeons and Dragons style stories, but with like action RPG orientation, so they're really good. And last one, this is a game that I actually played the more advanced version of, so kind of interesting here. Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay. I played the 360 version of this game way back in the day, so I kind of regressed here to the Xbox one, I guess you could say. But I've heard people say they like this one more. They like the more kind of challenging aspect of it and everything. This is a great little kind of stealth action game. It's kind of like Dishonored before Dishonored. And I don't like Dishonored. I played the first Dishonored game, didn't like it, really didn't play the rest. But yeah, if you're a fan of like the Riddick stuff, which I am, I think the Riddick stuff is actually Vin Diesel's best work. I know if you're a Fast and Furious fan, you know, I'm a big fan of The Rock, and he's in those, and I still can't watch them. But I love the Riddick stuff. Pitch Black is awesome. Chronicles of Riddick, pretty good. The last Riddick movie, which I think was just Riddick, But still, seeing the Riddick character is still cool. So yeah. Did I open it? Yeah, there we go. And last thing, moving on. So the first set of games I looked at, those were the first guy, his garage sale I went to. That second set with Riddick and True Crime and all that, that was the last seller. This is the second seller. I did it out of order because these are older games, and one of them is very much so a Holy Grail game, and I will explain why. As a matter of fact, I'm going to save it for last. But I picked up 2 PS1 games from him. The first one I got was Oddworld. I love Oddworld. I've never played the original Oddworlds. I've only played those remakes. So I've played the remake of Abe's Oddesey. And yeah, a while back in one of the game show episodes, I talked about getting... which one was it? Was it Stranger's Wrath, maybe? I don't remember. No, Munch's Oddesey. Stranger's Wrath popped up somewhere too, right? I thought I bought that too. It's on my shelf over here. But Munch's Oddesey is the one that I remember for sure I showed off in an episode of a game show. But I've only ever played the remakes of Oddworld. So going back and playing the original sounds kind of interesting. I love the world. I just like the old design with these like weird wormy creatures and everything. So yeah. And then to go along with that, I picked up Abe's Exodus. So yay. Whoa. Oh, that's not opening. There we go. In Odd we trust. Yeah, so interested to go back and play these. Kind of play the original, see how janky they really are. I know Oddworld it's not like the most critically acclaimed series or anything, but I always fell in love with just the style and the look of it and the characters. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to kind of do that down, kind of like the Riddick game, where I talked about how I played the Xbox 360 version of Escape from Butcher Bay. And now I'm going to go back and play the Xbox one and see how much more janky it is. I'm interested to do that with Oddworld as well. I've played those remakes, and they're pretty good, I think. So going back and playing the originals, we're going to see how much more janky they are. And last thing I picked up from this guy, he had a ton of Sega Genesis games, many of which I wanted, but he kind of knew his stuff. Like I said, he had nothing but retro games. He knew prices. He knew things. So I couldn't just finesse it and pick up a bunch of classic Genesis games for $5 a piece. And they were all complete in boxes, or at least like the plastic shell boxes. And he knew what he had. So, but one game I got pretty cheap. This is where something like this kind of slips through the cracks, because I don't think he quite knew the details of what he had on this one. I picked up a copy of NBA Jam. Crack case. Didn't matter. Picked it up. $5 for this one. He had some other games that he was not. He had Moonwalker. I tried so hard to finesse him to give me Moonwalker. He knew what he had. So he was asking quite a bit for it, and I just couldn't do it. But NBA Jam, easy game to find. Anytime I've ever seen it at a garage sale, whether it's just the cart or with the box or anything, it's $5. Maybe every once in a while you'll get somebody charging $10. But it's a cheap, easy game to find when you're getting the normal version of it. Since college, so at least 10 years now, I have been trying to find the Sega Genesis version of NBA Jam that has Charles Barkley in it. And I know some people might think, like, whoa, what do you mean Charles Barkley's in NBA Jam on Genesis? Yes, he is. The original arcade of NBA Jam had Shaq and Charles Barkley in it. When it got ported to console for the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, Shaq was taken out completely. He got his rights back, or bought his own rights, kind of like Michael Jordan did. That's why Michael Jordan is not in any NBA Jam, even the arcade one, unless you believe the story that there's a special arcade cabinet that Gary Payton claims to have. that has him and Michael Jordan in it, which I don't know if those timelines match up. Anyway, regardless, Shaq was taken out of the console versions completely. Charles Barkley makes it into like the first few runs of the game. Then he gets his likeness and he's taken out of the rest of the copies. So it's harder to find, but there are early cartridges of NBA Jam for the Sega Genesis that have Charles Barkley in them. For 10 years, I have bought every cartridge, whether complete in the box or not, of NBA Jam I have ever seen. And like I said, it's always cheap. It's always like $5 to $10. Not that hard to find. With the hope that this seller may not know what they have, or maybe at a flea market they're just trying to get rid of stuff. And I buy it, I bring it home, I pop it in the Sega Genesis just to see if Charles Barkley's there. I have 8 copies of NBA Jam. I have 6 on the Sega Genesis. Or no, I'm sorry, 7 copies. 6 on the Sega Genesis, and I have 1 on the Super Nintendo. None of them have ever had Charles Barkley in them. Saw this. I asked the guy straight up. I was like, do you know if this is the one that has Charles Barkley? He said no. I was like, okay, cool. $5? $5. Cool. Gave him $5 a game of the game. It's all there. If you notice, the Phoenix Suns are not even listed on here. All the games are like that. But I figured why not? You know, I've been doing this for 10 years. I have 7 different copies of this game, and on 2 different consoles. Well, one's on the SNES, but technically 2 different consoles. So I'm just gonna pick it up and do it again, right? Every like few months I see one and I pick it up or whatever, however it works, or at least once a year it seems like I kind of would get one. Yeah, so every so often I ran into it, and this was no different. In my mind, I paid $5 for another copy of NBA Jam that didn't have Charles Barkley. I got home, didn't think anything of it. I left it there. I set it on the table and just left it there for a few days. Didn't really think anything of it. Mainly because we were fixing up the room, so the Sega Genesis was not plugged in or anything. So a few days ago, when the room finally got set back up, plugged in the Genesis, forgot this was sitting there. I popped it in, and yes. A 10-year search, a 10-year hunt. I found a copy of NBA Jam that has Charles Barkley in it. I took a picture. I posted them on Instagram as my proof, and there you go. I don't know. I feel weird. Like, it's probably the thing I've looked for the most. It's not the most expensive thing or the most crazy thing that I want. That's like a holy grail find for me. But it's definitely the longest one. Like, since I graduated college, I have looked for this damn game with Charles Barkley in it, and it finally had Charles Barkley. Like the kind of like sense of euphoria I had when I saw it was amazing, and yeah, I really don't know how to feel now. Like, the quest is over. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Anyways, long tangent about NBA Jam, but I just wanted y'all to get an idea of how sentimental the search for this was. NBA Jam is my second favorite arcade machine of all time, behind the original Area 51. So much so, this year for Christmas, I almost bought myself the countercade of NBA Jam. I didn't, but I almost did. So, yeah. I love NBA Jam. It's one of my all-time favorite games as a kid, whether it was going to the pizza place and playing it on the Genesis, buying all those those 7 different cartridges, and like finally the 8th one randomly has Charles Barkley. Anytime I've seen it, like in Dallas when I go visit my brother, I go to the Cidercade. They have an original arcade machine in there. We play NBA Jam still even then. I love NBA Jam, and to finally have the one I was looking for is absolutely fantastic to me. And I just wanted to kind of share the sentimental value I have of finding this with you guys. So, yeah, there it is. And that's going to be it. That's our little haul here from Lubbock. A lot of different games. Try to balance this out with the Oddworld stuff. Yeah, there you go. I was kind of critical of my trip to Albuquerque, even though I found time splitters and all that stuff. This trip to me will trump over any trip I take, just because of that NBA Jam cartridge. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Please have a like, comment, subscribe if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I always appreciate anybody who does. And a Holy Grail video game journey has been completed. That's 2 since I started recording my video game finds that I've completed. NBA Def Jam Fight for New York, and now NBA Jam for the Sega Genesis with Charles Barkley in it. Kind of crazy how, like, in half a year I found both. I wonder what's next. I got to kind of reevaluate my Holy Grail video game list here. Sorry, I got weirdly sentimental there at the end. That's it for this video. I'll catch you guys in whatever comes next.